Hey guys, Django Fett here. So it's that time of year where I do these redundant top 10 lists, top whatever lists. And this year, 2022, it was a pretty good year for TV shows, I must say. Much like last year, it was just filled to the brim with awesome TV shows. However, there were some bad ones too. So this is going to be a mix of lists. This is going to be the best TV shows that I recommend, and then we're gonna go into the worst TV shows. So I'll try to be rapid fast or as quick as possible when talking about these TV shows, but let's get into it with the top TV shows that are not in any particular order, but the TV shows that I recommend you guys check out. First one is Peacemaker. So directed by James Gunn, this is a James Gunn creation on an obscure character played by John Cena. And it was a welcome addition. It was awesome. It featured on HBO Max, featured on a DC character that you really hated after the Suicide Squad, and they made him fucking likable and just weird. If they do more of this, I'd be happy. And James Gunn, he seems to be doing a good direction with DC right now, and this is what we want. Pretty good show overall. Second one is All of Us Are Dead. This was a out of nowhere Korean TV show on Netflix, where a bunch of high schoolers are in school, just a normal day in school, and all of a sudden a zombie virus is unleashed. And how do they deal with that? So it's a really fun and interesting TV show, and each episode is actually pretty long. It's like an hour and a half each, and I think it ranges from like 8 to 10 episodes. I think 8 to 10 episodes, but really good. It is pretty long, but it is very good, very worthwhile, and just another hit coming from Korea. Next is The Legend of Vox Machina, premiering on Amazon Prime. I didn't really know much about this. This was like an anime series or animated series. Watched the first episode, wasn't impressed, but afterwards it got super fucking interesting and became great. And after watching this show, first season, because by the time I'm putting out this review, season 2 will be out right now on January, and that's what I wanted, just to continue the series. And earlier this year or earlier 2022, I was so obsessed with Legend of Vox Machina, I ended up watching their entire series because it's them, famous voice actors you've seen from video games, cartoons, you name it, and they're doing Dungeons and Dragons. And it was such a really cool premise, and it worked. I watched a lot of it, and even the saga that premieres with just the Legend of Vox Machina arc. I think it was the Blackberry. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I need to catch up and watch it again right before season 2. And it's right before a certain arc. I watched the entire arc, and it's like 10, 12 episodes and dozens of hours featured. I watched the whole freaking thing, and I was just so invested into it. And they just make it so interesting to explore Dungeons and Dragons, the way that they present it, and make it so interesting. And it's so awesome to see them do an animated series just based off that alone, that campaign alone. And I can't wait to see what they do in the future with this series and doing with the certain campaigns, and if they do another campaign based on another campaign for the season, I'm definitely going to be watching the Critical Role to see how it compares, because it seems like from what I saw, it really mashed up very well with how they did in the animated series. Freaking remarkable how they did it. But I am looking forward to season 2, and I cannot wait for it. Next one is Tokyo Vice, something about the Japanese mafia or the Yakuza, and featured on the American reporter's perspective on that. A really interesting premise, focused on a reporter and several other cops, and even on the Yakuza perspective. So it was really interesting. Can't wait for more. Next one is The Staircase. This is based on real-world events that is very interesting. There's a lot to it. There's a Netflix series that, you know, they did, The Staircase. It's based around a certain murder that happened, you know, I think it was 10, 20 years ago. And it's murder in quotes, of course. But there's a lot of things revolving around it, a lot of shady stuff. And you don't know whether this guy has committed the murder or not. It is a really interesting TV show. Also on HBO Max, same with Tokyo Vice. So HBO Max has been putting out some pretty fantastic TV shows, especially for this year. Next one is Stranger Things Season 4. So I really didn't want any more Stranger Things. I really did not. I was sick and tired of the Stranger Things. Season 3, I thought it ended very good, and I didn't want to see it do it anymore. But Season 4 was surprisingly very good because it actually split off into part 1, and then they did part 2 later on in the year. And I didn't think it could work, but it worked extremely well. I thought it was really good. It showed a new threat in, I forget his name, it was like the General or something like that. It's just a threat to 11. And I thought it was great. I thought the Stranger Things magic was back again. I'm just not sure how much more they could do with Stranger Things at this point. Maybe Stranger Things Season 5. I could see that because I think they were looming to another threat. I think, yeah, they were looming to another threat. The next is The Boys Season 3. Once again, the violent anti-hero superhero TV show is here, where the superheroes are portrayed as just nut jobs, and this one continues that, where Homelander is just an even bigger and deadlier threat than ever. And they also have another person in the mix who is this Captain America of sorts, who they also want to use, the boys want to use. Or do they? I mean, they find out some things about him, and they're not sure whether to use him or not. Some people are debating, some people don't want to be on that side, but it is a super interesting violent TV series that continues the premise once again, and it's great. Can't wait for The Boys Season 4 because I am expecting some crazier things with the superheroes. Let's just say taking it out on the government. Umbrella Academy Season 3. Oof, I didn't know how they would do it after Season 2 because that was a little rough. But Season 3 was really good. Really fantastic. They continue the premise of them going and trying to save, you know, the universe from a doomsday event once again. But I still found it interesting and compelling. There were some aspects that I just fucking hated with some of the characters, but I did really enjoy it. Next is Ms. Marvel. So, as a Pakistani myself and looking to see a superhero, you know, Pakistani superhero, this was great. This was great representation right here, and Kamala Khan is great. She's not super annoying like she is in the video game, but she's played by, and she does a great job in the show. And they really captured the magic of Kamala Khan, and they did a really good job with the writing as well. The writing for the villains, however, not so good, but for Kamala Khan, I really did enjoy it. And I'm hoping for bigger and better things for Ms. Marvel, you know, Kamala Khan, in the future for Marvel, because she is kind of like the person to take the mantle for Marvel at this point. You know, I guess her and Captain Marvel, but I really see her more so than ever, Kamala Khan. And, you know, she's going to be in the Marvels movie as well, which I'm looking forward to because she's going to be in it. Next is Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I didn't know what to expect from this show, but it was just like a violent, unique take on Cyberpunk, and this really captured the magic of Cyberpunk. This is Cyberpunk. This is great. This was violent. This was brutal, and it was sad at times. It was beautiful at times, and it really captured the essence of how they did it in the video game as well into here. And it really worked. And I think there was some updates to the video game that correspond to the TV series. So I think that was pretty cool. I didn't actually play that, but I heard some good things about some of the DLC and stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to more Cyberpunk 2077 DLC for the longest time. I've been waiting for it for such a long time, but they've been waiting to fix the fucking game first. Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. This one was a weird title, but interesting TV series, I must say, on Jeffrey Dahmer and showing his crimes, and really brutal. And while you didn't see too much of the violence per se, it was still visceral, the things that he did, and it was something. Like, they didn't humanize Jeffrey Dahmer. I think people are misunderstanding it. They showed the brutality and evil that he did, and it got really sad towards the end. Not for Jeffrey Dahmer, but his victims, as you see them, you know, after what he did to those victims, and it was just, and their families and stuff like that. And it's just, it's tough, man. It's really tough to watch, but you know, it points out some things, not just with Jeffrey Dahmer, but also the police and, you know, those in power just avoiding this and trying to hide the scandal. And that was tough. Just tough to see and witness. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. This was a really interesting one, as it was not so much directed by Guillermo del Toro. You know, gave this project to other people to to make their own different episodes and unique takes on horror, and create these unique stories, and it worked. I thought most of it really worked. I think the lotion one was my favorite. I think I watched it like 2 or 3 times, and it was just so weird, but I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I mean, not so much like it was like scary per se, but it was a fun thing to watch for Halloween, for sure. And even though it came out like a few days before Halloween, so it was really tough for me to finish everything before Halloween, but it was fun. House of the Dragon. This was a huge surprise to me as well. I wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't really care about Game of Thrones after the ending of, that terrible last finale. But frankly, this is done by a different team, and they are basing it off a prequel to everything that's Game of Thrones, focusing on 200 years, I think 200 or 250 years before the events of Game of Thrones. And focuses on the Targaryen line and how there eventually was division towards the end. Game of Thrones is back, baby. It is back. Bigger and better than ever. And now this has captured the interest, and it's going to set up for 4 or 5 seasons or something like that. I am back on the bandwagon with House of the Dragon now, with Game of Thrones. Alright, so that's all the good TV shows. That's a lot of great TV shows. So let's talk about the worst TV shows, and I'll try to be brief with each of these. Moon Knight, that was a complete failure. One of my favorite superhero characters. Towards the end, it just lost me completely. Just ended up being a dumb, big monster fight, and it just failed massively for me, and that was a huge disappointment. Next one is Resident Evil. I will say, I didn't even finish that show. I watched half of it, and it was fucking garbage, and I couldn't even finish it. And it was so funny because the creator of the show is from Supernatural, and he did like 15 fucking seasons or whatever it is of that show, and he had the balls to fucking say, we think this is going to be a success, and we're going to create like 10 seasons in this, and then we're going to introduce Leon and Chris and all these other characters from the video games, and y'all got canceled right away. They canceled after the first season, not renewed, and the show ends, and good fucking riddance, because that show is garbage. Next is Rings of Power. I did watch my analysis of this. I did a review on this. It started off good for me, after the second episode. It started to get interesting, but then it just lost me in the end, and man, they spent $1 billion on this fucking shit. I mean, come on this, just on the visuals alone, I guess. But how are they gonna do season 2 and season 3 of this shit? I don't fucking know. They're gonna spend another $1 billion and another $1 billion. It's just a fucking waste. Just don't even bother watching. She-Hulk, not so much for the criticism that you may think that on why I give it for the She-Hulk movie or the TV series. It's just the writing is atrocious and it's terrible, and there's not really any lawyer stuff. It's just It's a joke. It's a big fucking joke and it's terrible. Book of Boba Fett. They fucked over Boba Fett, and that is completely unforgivable for me. And this is from the creators of The Mandalorian, you know, Jon Favreau and stuff. It became Boba Fett in the beginning, halfway into it, and then the other half was, it was The Mandalorian show. So you had to watch this show in order to get what is going to happen for Mandalorian Season 3. So fuck that shit. They completely ruined the character of Boba Fett in this, and I blame the writing. Not so much Tamora Morrison. He's trying, but there's only so much he can do, and it's just Jon Favreau and the team behind this. They just completely fucked over my boy Boba Fett, and fuck them. We'll see how they can do with Mandalorian Season 3, but I'm not expecting anything at this point. Next is Kenobi. And this is a show that I think is even worse than Book of Boba Fett and the other shows, a couple of other shows that I have on my list. Utterly just terrible writing, ruined fucking Kenobi. Worse than they did my boy Boba Fett, which is saying something. Nothing interesting, super bland TV show. I did not like a single moment from this TV show. Not a single moment. I could say that for Book of Boba Fett. I could say I liked a couple moments from there. Kenobi, zilch. None. Not a single fucking moment. And that says something right there. Man, the downfall of the Star Wars TV shows is coming down fast. And I heard good things about Andor, but I don't give a shit. Rogue One is outdated. No one gives a fucking shit about it. Andor didn't do good on the rating wise, or watching wise, viewer wise. No one's gonna give a shit, okay? Only hardcore Star Wars fans are gonna watch this and enjoy it. But everyone else is not gonna give fucking two shits about fucking Andor. No. And the last one is easily Halo. This isn't fucking Halo. This is just Halo fan fiction made by creators who don't give a shit about the video games. Same with like the Resident Evil one. They did not play the video games at all. They don't give a shit about the video games. Halo, it also shows they're just creating their own fan fiction. They don't want to connect with the lore from, the video games or anything like that. They want to create their own shit, and they don't care who they fuck over. The fans who are actually watching it and giving it a shot. And even the regular audiences, they don't give a fucking shit. They want to see something good and entertaining, and it's not even fucking that either. It's just not. There are some cool action bits, one or two times, but it's awful. It is god awful. And they fucked over Master Chief in the first fucking episode. The first fucking episode. I don't know how you do that. I don't think even Kenobi or Book of Boba Fett even did that. And and Halo does that with Master Chief. Writing was terrible. Everything about the show was awful, and this is not Halo. And they're renewing it for Season 2. I will probably not watch it. Let's just say that. I got better things to do. There's plenty of other TV shows, movies that are coming out for 2023. I don't need to go watch Season 2 of this garbage. Okay, I'm done. So, Halo is easily, most likely, the worst TV show, that and Kenobi. But yeah, that's it for the TV shows for 2022. A lot of good TV shows and a couple of bad ones as well. But let me know what you think of my list. What are your best TV shows, your worst TV shows of 2022? Let me know in the comments section below. And please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, Jango Fett, if you haven't already. And I'll see you, my fellow Mandalorian. My little brothers and sisters, next time. Oh, yeah.